Themba Gorimbo is apparently rather disliked. He is disliked by many in the MMA world, and even more so disliked by the people in the country of which he is the sole representative in the UFC. So I wanted to find out exactly why that is. This article from The Guardian from 2023 says that Themba Gorimbo saw people die in front of him at a very young age. It goes into a lot of his backstory. If you're not familiar with it, he went through a lot of hardship as a younger person. He is from the country of Zimbabwe, and his mother died when he was 9, and his father died when he was 13. So he lost both parents at a very young age. He was involved in the blood diamond industry as a worker, as a young person. He was attacked by dogs as a young person, apparently lost a lot of blood. He made his way from Zimbabwe to South Africa, where he was homeless for a good amount of time, handing out leaflets at stoplights. Really quite a harrowing tale. He eventually made his way to Miami to train in the United States. He had $7 to his name. He was sleeping on the couch of the gym where he was training, which was MMA Masters, alongside Colby Covington. The Rock heard about his story and gifted him a house. And that is one of the central tenets of the later part of his story as he advanced his way through the UFC. So, Themba was in a fight at UFC 310 with Vicente Luque that he did not win. And he told a story recently about cousins of his in Zimbabwe who were celebrating his loss. They were very happy that he did not succeed. So I have that clip, and I will let that play for you.
I go online, like one of my cousins, I can't speak his name, but like he messaged me that the day after I lost this last fight, some of my cousins were celebrating my loss. They were all celebrating my loss. And he sent me a video of them in a place where we were 15 years ago, this small circle in Danun, where it's a slum, like when you call it, it's like a slum. And these cousins of mine were celebrating my loss. And do you know how much that eats you? Yeah. Because all I try to do is better for everybody. And I might not directly help you, but like maybe I build a well for the community, and then one person gets angry that why did you build the well? It's closer to this guy's house, not that person's house. If someone will message you and say, can you give me 5,000? Where will I get? People think that I'm in the UFC, I'm a millionaire. I'm not. Maybe one day I will be. But like, it's the reality that I'm not, and I cannot afford to do that. And imagine if you have 20 people coming to you and saying the same stuff.
So I heard that, and I thought, well, might just be his family. There might be jealousy there. People who are just trying to tear him down. Anybody with a level of success has haters. That sort of thing. But after that was posted, Dricus du Plessis weighed in on the situation. Dricus du Plessis, of course, from South Africa. And his response was rather interesting. Themba Gorimbo says his cousins were celebrating his loss in the UFC. Dricus du Plessis responds, yeah, because anybody that knows you would. So I was like, well, that goes a little bit beyond just his friends and family circle. That goes a little bit beyond just people who have their hands out looking for money or other resources from him. Why does Dricus dislike this person? So I did a little bit more digging, and it turns out that many, many people in the country of Zimbabwe are not very happy with Themba Gorimbo. They are not supporters of Themba, the one fighter from their country in the UFC. You would think that a person in that position would be universally lifted up as the one representative of the country on a global stage, but that is not the case for many Zimbabweans. So after doing a little bit of research on the subject, I came across this post by Shadaya Knight, who apparently is a somewhat controversial blogger and Twitter person. So take it with a grain of salt, but apparently this is someone within the Zimbabwean cultural conversation. And this person says, Themba Gorimbo is proof of why most celebrities actually need management, especially to handle their social media accounts. Because let's be realistic, a majority of them are plain idiots. They live in their own imaginary world, out of touch with reality. For example, Gorimbo is now so out of touch with reality ever since he was adopted by The Rock. The fame has gotten to his head to a point he feels he can denigrate every other Zimbabwean celebrity just for the sake of it. At the same time insulting fans, the very people who cheered for him in his Grass to Grace story. At the click of a button, he has lost all the respect the people had for him. Over what? Social media attention is indeed a drug. Learn or perish. And of course, there's a picture of him with The Rock. So, a lot to unpack there. He's saying that Themba is letting the fame go to his head. He's denigrating other Zimbabwean celebrities, and he's insulting his fans. Now, a lot of the conversation regarding Themba and the Zimbabwean people is in the Shona language, one of 16 official languages spoken in Zimbabwe, so it's a little bit hard for me to navigate all of the details of that. However, I have done as much research as I conceivably can within my capacity, and I feel like I've gathered a good amount of what I could to gain somewhat of an understanding of this situation, so I will present that to you here. The first and most major point as to why the Zimbabwean people do not like Themba Gorimbo comes from this right here. Themba Gorimbo and his situation regarding the dancehall artist Winky D. Apparently, Themba Gorimbo was temporarily forced to deactivate his Facebook and X accounts after he received a vicious backlash from fans of Winky D after he suggested that the dancehall superstar's fame is only confined to Zimbabweans. Now that's just the first part of it, though. The other part, and I think the bigger part, is not the saying that people outside of Zimbabwe don't know about Winky D, though that is something that he said. The other part of it is that he said that he himself was bigger than Winky D. Now, Winky D, I have come to find out, has 353,000 Instagram followers. He's got 295,000 subscribers on YouTube. I checked out a couple of his tracks. I quite enjoyed them. I like African dancehall, so if you haven't heard his stuff, I would recommend listening to it. Quite enjoyable. I don't know how far his reach extends outside of Zimbabwe, but he has a pretty substantial platform within the scope of what he does as an artist. So here, Themba Gorimbo apologizes about the statements that he made regarding Winky D, and the first of the two was this. I had it translated from Shona. What he said was, people want to get to know me. Can you compare me to Winky? Winky is local and I am global. There's a difference. If you stay here, you will know the local and global difference. Compare Winky with Pashi, who I don't know who that is exactly, but I'm assuming that that's another local Zimbabwean artist. So he did kind of come a little bit out of pocket at Winky D in that tweet. The second part that I referenced before that is his follow-up statement. He says, Winky is only local, guys. Numbers don't lie. I'm not saying, but at least I respect he didn't buy followers. Come on, you local kids. Winky is only known to you Zimbos. I'm assuming that Zimbos is a hopefully not racist term for Zimbabweans. But apparently to the Zimbos, Winky D is somebody pretty big, but Themba is saying that he's not known outside of the country. So that's the scope of what he said initially. This apparently angered a number of Zimbabweans. A lot of them, apparently. Were not very happy. And I don't know how big Zimbabwe is as a country, but I would suspect that, it's not huge. I would think that the amount of celebrities from Zimbabwe is a bit of a small pool. So when something like this comes out of the mouth of someone who is ostensibly known in the country, it gets around to a lot of people. Sure, it got back to Winky D. So people were very upset about this, as it had said he had deactivated his accounts for a little while. Apparently they are all back up, but he issued an apology for this. He says, "Guys, on the Winky D thing, I made a mistake and thought it was just a small joke. My intention wasn't to put Winky down or think I was better. I was just trying to have fun, like I did with Enzo Ishal back in 2021, if you remember. But I guess it affected and rubbed most of you the wrong way. I apologize about that. Nothing said was from a bad heart. I love Winky D myself. His songs inspire me for years to work hard. I have many of his songs that I love. Winky D is one of the greatest artists from Zimbabwe, and if I grow up to be half the man he is in my own right, it would be a blessing. I hope now there won't be any further questions about that issue, and you can make your own conclusions about who I am, but the truth is my whole life, I have never wished bad on anyone, and I love people who do extraordinary work like Winky D." So, got himself into a little bit of hot water, claiming that he was making a joke about Winky D. Now, whether or not he meant it as a joke or not, I guess is somewhat up for debate. Things can get lost in translation online, no pun intended, but one way or another, he made these remarks. They were interpreted as they were. He came out and said, "Guys, it was a misunderstanding. I apologize." Take that for what it is, right? So that, I guess, explains a part of why Themba is disliked within Zimbabwe. But that doesn't necessarily explain why he is disliked in the rest of the world, MMA culture. I guess even to an extent within Africa and the other countries surrounding Zimbabwe. Because I've heard just in MMA discussion circles, a lot of people saying, "Oh, this guy," there's always, the article over here with the Dricus article even says, "Oh, there's always something with this guy." This right here. It would seem that the dislike for Themba Gorimbo goes beyond just this incident with Winky D in Zimbabwe and extends into MMA and the greater population. So I wanted to know why that was. What else could there be? Now, granted, I was not able to go through every clip, every interview, every segment that Themba has ever put out, that has ever been recorded regarding this guy. So if there are things that I have missed regarding this subject, specific and enlightening incidents that actually are pertinent with pointed detail as to why someone would not like this guy, please let me know beyond what I'm going to bring up here. But what I could find, at least on Twitter, was this tweet here, because Malencia Rasputi asked the question that I have: why everyone hates Themba Gorimbo? And Dank MMA responds with these points. Says, discredited fighters far above him. Forced his coach to be away from coach's dying mother. Then, when coach's mom died, he made it all about himself. Everybody in the African MMA scene unanimously agrees he's an all-around not great dude. So those are three pretty definitive statements there, but no great examples within this tweet. You know, no videos, no links or anything like that. So I did a little bit of digging to try to figure out where all of this was coming from, and this is what I was able to glean. As far as discrediting fighters far above him, this is what I have for that. This is an interview that he did just before his fight with Vicente Luque. Of course, as I had said, he lost that fight. That was the fight that was being celebrated by his cousins. This is an interview that he did before that fight. The volume is a little bit low, so forgive me for that.
Weight cut for you then?
Short notice for Luque, not for me. It's short notice for Luque, not for me. I don't have short notice, man. I work hard all the time. They have to catch up with me through my hard work, you know. So maybe I gave him a start, but I'm ahead. In the last 10 years, if we put pound for pound the work that we have put together, me and him, I'm way ahead with due respect. Even though I was not in the UFC, I worked so hard. And I know that tomorrow.
We had a nice long interview the other day, so I'm going to let Eamon ask you some questions because I feel like I'm hogging you. You know, we spoke for such a long time. So, Eamon, go ahead.
So, listen, I know you've been you're very grateful for your opportunity to get here to fight a ranked guy, and that you're grateful to have won all these fights in UFC and everything that you're getting. Tell me, I know the fight's going to be hard tomorrow. If you can pick the perfect scenario of if it's hard, what for you? What would,
if he is tough enough to take what I'm going to give, then maybe it will be hard, brother. I'm not here to play.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I know you probably put a lot of thought into it, a lot of watching a lot of tape. What do you see as his weakness? What's your easiest path to victory?
Brother, I'm a workhorse. That's all I know. If I'm going to have to outwork him tomorrow, I'm going to outwork him. What I know is this: when you step in there tomorrow, I'm going to be a ranked fighter. When you leave that cage. Whether anyone likes it or not, man, I'm going to become the champion in this division. 12 months from now, I'll be a champion.
I mean, for me, I don't think anybody doesn't like it because you have such a great story. You know, you've come from not much and you've made a beautiful life for yourself, for your family. I know you said you hadn't seen your family very much this last 6 months, only 13 days or something like that. How much does it mean to you to be able to provide for them so well doing what you like?
All right, next
I don't like fighting. I'm not. No. I love winning, and winning loves me. And fighting is the only sport I love. It's the only sport that I win it. So I love winning. I'm obsessive. I'm a competitor. I'm not a fighter. I'm a competitor.
All right. So a little bit cocky, I guess, but didn't seem super out of line to me. I mean, he was maybe discounting Vicente Luque a little bit. Obviously he was, because Vicente Luque took care of him pretty quickly. This response here kind of echoed what I was saying. He has the correct attitude for a fighter, to be honest. The original poster, this is African Chef ZA, says, nope, he doesn't. He acts humble while being a shitty person behind closed doors. Again, I'm having trouble grasping what exactly he does behind closed doors. I think that that's the biggest mystery here. But so that's what I was able to find about him discrediting fighters far above him. Vicente Luque, of course, a veteran fighter. Was good to see him get a win, regardless of who it was against, after some unfortunate circumstances in his life. But going into a fight, this didn't seem like that bad of a way to be conducting yourself. He wasn't going after Vicente personally, wasn't going after his family, his religion, anything that he holds dear to himself. He was just saying that he's a hardworking fighter who's going to be ranked, blah, blah, blah. All the normal stuff that fighters generally say. So that's number one. Point two, he forced his coach to be away from his coach's dying mother. Then when the coach's mother died, he made it all about himself. I have the clip here. This is before his fight at UFC Vegas 92, pre-fight presser. I'll just let this play and you can draw your own conclusions from this.
So how do you get your hand raised on Saturday?
All I know is I'm going to win in spectacular fashion for my coach, whose mother just died like 2 hours ago. He's been here with me for 8 weeks. He tells me his mother is sick with cancer. You know, he never told me like it was that bad. You know, I just said to him, okay, man, after the fight we go back to South Africa together. I didn't have a plan to go there, but I was going to go with him to see his mother. And his mother just died like 3 hours, 2 hours ago, man. And I'm going to win for him. Yeah, here's what it is.
Sorry to hear that, but thank you for saying that. Yeah, so I'm assuming you have even more on your shoulders to go into this fight on Saturday.
It's all on my shoulders, man. It's all on my shoulders. I've been wanting to do that anyway because he sacrificed past 8 weeks of his life. You know, obviously I pay him to be here helping me get better with my wrestling and stuff. But I cannot bring his mother back. You understand what I'm saying? And I just wanted to, yeah, it is what it is. It's life. Whatever it is, man.
Thanks, Themba.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, thank you, guys. Bless you.
Okay, so I don't really see that as making it about himself. He seemed genuinely broken up about the situation. I don't know if behind closed doors he was forcing this coach to train him, saying, hey, if you don't train me, maybe you're fired or something like that. It didn't sound like he knew how bad the sickness was, or he wouldn't have had the coach away from his mother. I'd need to hear from the coach to know the full story there, but he seemed pretty genuinely upset about it. You know, the coach had a job. The coach was doing his job. Nobody could necessarily know that that would have been the day that that unfortunate event would have taken place. It just seems like a really sad thing that happened that no one could have fully predicted and affected Themba pretty substantially. So, I mean, maybe you could say that that's him making it about himself the way that he talked about it there, but that doesn't seem that way to me. Just saying. So, the third thing here, everybody in the African MMA scene unanimously agrees he's an all-around not great dude. I have a couple of things for this. The first one is this post. I won't read all of it, but it basically was saying that Themba was in the process of trying to build a solar-powered library in his village, and the project was almost completed, but unfortunately they couldn't complete the project. I don't know what the full set of circumstances surrounding that is, but at least his heart was in the right place if that's the case. Now, I know sometimes people will say, oh, you know, I was going to do this nice thing and then it didn't end up happening. And it's like, well, was it ever going to happen in the first place? You could have just been talking a big game. There's that. But taking him at his word, at least because I don't know the truth, at least there were good intentions there. He was in the process of building a library in his village. Unfortunately, it didn't come to fruition, but he was trying. So there's that. And then the other thing was this here. Apparently, one of the reasons that Themba does not have a lot of money to his name is because he opened a gym in South Africa where he allows amateur fighters to train for free. So, granted, that might not be a very sound financial decision, But to me, it would seem like something that's coming from the heart and a good thing for the MMA community in South Africa. So where is this hatred coming from? Again, I don't know enough about this to have a full, clear understanding. All of these things on the surface seem to be pretty decent human things to do, but a lot of people still dislike him, including Dricus du Plessis. The only other twist that I have to this, before I go too far in saying maybe everybody's just wrong about this guy, was this here. Now, as I had mentioned, he came over to the United States, came to Miami to trained at MMA Masters down there, teammate of Colby Covington. Colby Covington apparently showed him a good amount of kindness when he first got there. He had no money. He was sleeping on a couch at the gym, $7 in his bank account before The Rock gave him his house. Turns out that some time ago, I would assume that this maybe is in the preparation for Colby's fight with Joaquin Buckley that happened at UFC Tampa last month. Apparently, the relationship had sometime soured between Themba and Colby. I'll let this play.
Training, and then as I got on the treadmill, then Colby walks in, and then he kicks me out of the PI.
What?
He tells the guy that works at the PI that, hey, I don't want to see that guy, meaning me, who is his teammate. And he said, nah, he didn't tell me directly. He told the guy, and the guy came to me, he's like, Themba, he's cutting weight. I understand maybe he's cutting weight, but you know what? I'm your teammate. And we train at the same place. We're not really training together, but when he did that to me, I was like, okay, cool. This is it. I was not already in my own situation things, but I was like, okay, this is not it. This is the end of it. I tried to speak to the coaches when they came back to Miami about it. But you know what? Colby pays, man. Colby is a cash cow. So those values of money over morals for me were not standing. And then I just decided, you know what? I can't be in this place. I tried to speak to him even recently. In March before my fight, tried to speak to him so we can train again together, but just couldn't work out.
So there you have it. That situation apparently was one of the leading factors as to why Themba ultimately left MMA Masters Gym and the relationship dissolved. So, granted, Colby Covington plays this heel character, loves to be the bad guy for publicity, WWE style heel persona that he has is whatever. Behind the scenes, he's a different guy, but even behind the scenes, I wouldn't necessarily put it past him to just be an asshole. However, you've got Colby Covington severing his relationship with this guy. You've got Dricus du Plessis, who really, as far as I could tell, doesn't have any vested involvement in this situation, having some negative things to say about him. Both Dricus and Themba fought in EFC, South African promotion. You've got a lot of people in the MMA world who have negative things to say about Themba Gorimbo. Granted, a lot of them are saying things like, oh, he plays the victim. Well, if you know his history, he legitimately was the victim. He has plenty of good reason to, have played the victim in the past. I don't know if there's other stuff that they're referring to with that. And then you also have the people of Zimbabwe who are upset at him, perhaps over the Winky D situation or other things that I am not privy to. All of that being said, that's the situation as I have come to understand it with Themba Gorimbo. I don't fully know what to make of it because there just seems like there's a lot that I don't know. Based on the information that I have seen, it would appear to me that there's a bit of misunderstanding going on, but maybe I am completely not understanding the situation myself. Maybe I'm completely off base. So that's all the research that I have done about this. I feel like I really haven't come to a great conclusion, but I don't know if I can with all of what I have at the moment. So If you are a person who dislikes Themba Gorimbo, let me know why. If you're a person in Zimbabwe or South Africa or any of the countries in Africa surrounding Zimbabwe, or somehow culturally involved in this conversation back home, what Themba considers back home, definitely let me know. Tell me the things that I am not aware of here, because I really, again, feel like I have more questions than answers when it comes to why this guy is as hated as he is. That's all I got for right now on this one. For Yelling About Mixed Martial Arts, this has been Thinker St. James. Fight on.